Hi everyone, and welcome back to another Board No Game video. Today's video is dedicated to frequently asked questions, the ultimate FAQ to be exact. And this FAQ will pretty much answer all of your questions regarding almost everything in the game, I would have to say. So if you have a question probably on this FAQ, like who to save for, why to save for that character, where are the formulas and everything. So this is going to be the Google spreadsheet link, character breakdowns. I'll probably change the title to ultimate FAQ, but you can see right here, it shows everything. Like for example, how do EX skills work? Are they factored and shown in game? And they are not actually factored. So if you're wondering about stuff like that, how does critical work? How does evasion work? How does auto HP, auto TP recovery work? It's pretty much wave based. So if you go to a different wave, you will pretty much get more like HP, more TP and all that stuff. That's why, you know, in dungeon, you get more like TP refills and more HP refills. How is like defense? How does it affect damage? How do like physical attacks and all that stuff works? Like how does the stats actually apply? How do TP reduction works? How does lifesteal work? How does BP calculated? So pretty much all that information on like who's in a rank is like your bond rank. What are the different meanings between each like little thing? Like what does TP auto recovery actually do? What does heal boost actually do? TP reduction actually do? I probably should have covered this like when the game first released, but I didn't stumble into this like Google spreadsheet and I didn't really understand a lot of this. So I feel like it's actually better that we jump into this information now, because a lot of like the game mechanics are getting a little bit more complicated and we're starting to understand like the way Princess Connect essentially works nowadays. So we can definitely start covering this information, and this is probably a question that's on everyone's head. Can attack slash debuffs and debuffs stack? So can everything stack? So the answer is yes. There's no limit to the amount of buffs and debuffs. Just note that it's based off of like the refresh. So by that it means like each stack has its own duration. So there are some skills that actually last longer than 90 seconds and above. I feel like those are like area effect ones, and for the most part it's really hard to stack buffs together because most of the time they only last 12 to like 80 seconds. You can see like within in-game, you're like in an actual quest and you're doing something, like whether the buff actually stacks or not. So if you go into like 8-15 and you see like little icons where it's like, oh yeah, this character is trying to buff but nothing's really appearing, well, it's probably because like the buffs either disappeared or the buff is not yet available, right? So let's go ahead and jump right back into this. So just be aware that physical defense and magical defense cannot go below 0. So if you're trying to stack like multiple defense debuffs, it's not going to work on weaker enemies. It definitely works on bosses where they have like more physical defense and magical defense. I'm going to show it later how like bosses have a lot more pretty much physical defense and magical defenses. You can see here like on like the Drake stage, they have like way more than just like 100. So you can go above and beyond when it goes to these different stages. But when it comes to like simple enemies, that's why, for example, Makoto isn't good on those stages, because you can't really stack the debuffs because they're pretty much hitting like defense 0 very quickly, right? And as far as like everything goes, like with like the AI patterns and stuff, everything's like a fixed pattern. You guys have seen like skill loops and stuff like that, right? And how are skills calculated? It shows all the information there. So if you're wondering about that, how does action speed buffs work? So what does speed actually do? For a more simplified example, imagine an attack having 1.5 seconds or 45 frames of pre-attack idle time. So Monica's 50% buff would be simplified as of idle time of 30 frames. So instead of them waiting to pretty much cast their skills, they will cast their skills slightly bit faster. It's not the act of actually casting the skill, it's the act in between skills. So the in between time where they're just sort of like standing there and not doing anything will be a much shorter duration, which is pretty cool information because this sort of throws like action speed buffs or speed buffs on top of its head in Priconne, because it doesn't actually make them attack faster. Like for example in 2x speed, where you can definitely tell, oh, there's like, you know, they're definitely attacking much faster, right? And let's go ahead and cover why did my character turn weaker after a rank upgrade. So equipment consumed during a rank upgrade in Redive will not add to your character's base stats. Each rank has a predetermined base stat, alright? Only the currently equipped equipment will contribute to the character. For that very reason, it's important to look out for stats on the available equipment on the next rank before you decide whether it's better to stay or upgrade, especially if you're into min-maxing. By the way, So for everyone who's like, oh, I'm gonna get like the optimal upgrades for each rank, at the end of the day, it only affects players who are like going high-end CB, trying to tackle like the craziest content. It doesn't really matter for players who are like taking the game more casually. If you're trying to like min-max stats, think of this as like IV training for like in Pokemon. Like IV training definitely helps a lot in the competitive scene, but if you're just playing the game and you're like in story mode in Pokemon, you don't need to IV train like your goddamn Pikachu or something. All right, so take this like, you know, min-maxing your stats is IV training. Just note that rank upgrades are based off of a base stat. All right, so there is a base stat that a character will go up to, and gear pretty much helps it. Gear itself is not consumed and added to the character's base stats. All right, and then this shows calculations for unique equipment. We don't have that. Shows you all the different TP gains, so each action, damage taken, and defeating an opponent, right? And then we also have seen on like Ristia's notes active like TP gaining, hit TP, kill TP, how much TP do you keep after a UB, stuff like that. So you can throw it in tangent with how do you gain TP and stuff. Shows you how do AoEs work. Like besides the AoE itself, there's like two types of AoEs. So one from like the actual user's position, and there's another one where it's a fixed area around the target's position. So there's a lot of like, I guess you can get into more nitty-gritty details of an AoE. How do barriers coexist? Or because there's like the physical barriers, there's the magic barriers, physical absorption barriers. So I'm not really gonna try and go in too much detail. Even shows like stuff about like clan battles and how does this work, how are rewards calculated, the different multipliers between bosses, and like how each stage gets better and better. Like for example, like if you can manage to get into the second stage, this is how players are pretty much able to score higher, like I guess damage, higher ranks within like everything, right? Because some folks were like, man, I was stuck at the first boss, so you're at a 1.2 multiplier. By the way, there's nothing wrong with that. You could say everyone who reached this area was a little bit way more try hard, to say the least, right? Or you just had like more active members at the end of the day, because that's what it was. And then it shows all like the different stages and all the different HP per like pretty much stage. I like how it shows like some of the bosses, so that's pretty cool. Obviously each boss is different, has different multipliers and everything. And then it goes through a full breakdown on each character that's ever like been added as a, hey, this character is a must pull, like 6-star Ray, that's going to be a while, and then Princess Kokoro, New Year's Cow, Kasumi, Nenika, Summer Maho. I haven't actually seen Summer Maho as a must pull. And then there's Christmas Chica. There's actually Saren here, which is one of the few characters that we can actually use within the game. Actually a thing about 6-star Yukari, and then Anna post unique equipment, Summer Cow, which is Summer Karu if you want to go through that. And then it shows information for pretty much every single character that has relevancy within like our actual like game modes, right? And when it covers these characters, obviously there's more characters that are probably useful. It's probably covering these characters specifically because they're the ones that are more seasonal, it's harder to get them, or they're 6-star and it's harder to pretty much take feedback on them. And there's definitely more information like regarding everything like on this Google spreadsheets, so feel free to check it out. I really appreciate this information. I am happy that I'm covering it now because I don't think I would have understood, like for example, the different barrier types, or do like attacks and buffs and debuff stacks, do they like actually count? And for example, how do like rank upgrades actually work, right? So these are like little things that we can take a look into in order to min-max ourselves a little bit more. Let's go ahead and jump into a bit of arena. And something that I have to say is like everything's been getting a little sweaty as of late. I feel like after clan battle, everyone's been getting more into the meta and stuff, so I thought I'd show something like this. But let me know if you guys want like some sort of like waifu reviews, not actual character reviews, like, you know, like story stuff, or like non-related to actual like gameplay, just because of the fact that I feel like everyone's been taking Princess Connect a little too seriously as of late. Like I was hoping this was going to be a waifu collector. Now everyone's like min-maxing and stuff, and then here I am showing a video on like min-maxing. But I feel like a lot of the times when gachas get really sweaty, the community starts to turn a different way, and I want to keep the community as a waifu collector base. Like that's where Princess Connect really shines. And when it deviates from that formula and you try to like min-max our special waifus right here, it's like min-maxing Pokemon, like I referenced earlier. Like, that's cool and all, but at the end of the day, why do you actually play? It's just because you enjoy the design, you enjoy the overall gameplay, you enjoy the characters, right? That's what really makes or breaks Princess Connect, and what separates it from other gacha games is that little bit of polish. And I'm actually getting super wrecked here. I don't think I'm gonna die in this fight, and it's possibly because of the fact that we don't have another tank like Kuka. That's probably what it is, but I don't think I could really take down this team because this is known as Tamaki stall. Probably faced it a couple of times. If I can somehow kill, yeah, we're not killing this Nozomi, I feel, because this Tamaki is just taking us out like one by one. Okay, there. We finally took out that Tamaki, but I doubt we can get to that Yukari and Nozomi. Mimi showing her pretty much power. She's an absolute MVP for PvP, so make sure to use her if you can. Alright, and that's it. If you made it this far into this video, consider subscribing, dropping a like, leaving a comment. Follow me on Twitch, follow me on Twitter. Once we hit 15k subs, we'll be doing a giveaway. And I feel like we need to do like a special stream on like a waifu tier list whenever I do hit 15k. So we'll make time for that. We'll get everyone in chat and decide who is the best waifu. Like, for example, Kaori's the best waifu. But anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.